The glittering lights of fame often cast the deepest shadows, creating a flawless illusion that masks the turbulent realities unfolding behind closed doors. In the modern landscape of the entertainment industry, we often look at our favorite icons as figures of pure resilience. Individuals who have conquered the highest mountains and survived the darkest storms only to emerge completely invincible in the eyes of the public. We watch their red carpet appearances, we listen to their raw, emotional anthems of survival, and we celebrate their triumphs as if they were our own, believing that the bond they share with their partners is as unbreakable as the ironclad resolve that brought them to the top. But the truth of human relationships is rarely as simple as a 3-minute hit song or a perfectly curated social media timeline. And the foundations of even the most celebrated love stories can begin to fracture under weight that the outside world can barely begin to comprehend. When a sudden crisis strikes the heart of a beloved household, it sends a ripple effect far beyond the immediate circle of those involved, forcing the public to confront the fragile nature of success, loyalty, and the complex promises made in the name of family. In the heart of the music world, where storytelling is the ultimate currency, a real-life drama has begun to unfold that challenges everything we thought we knew about devotion, sacrifice, and the hidden costs of a life completely transformed by the bright, unforgiving glare of global stardom. The city of Nashville, Tennessee, has always been an environment built entirely on the foundations of raw heartbreak, hard-earned redemption, and the bittersweet poetry of human struggle. It is a place where legends are born out of the ashes of forgotten pasts, and where the audiences value authenticity above almost everything else, recognizing the true scars of a performer long before they ever achieve mainstream recognition. Within this unique and deeply traditional musical community, one particular couple managed to capture the imagination of millions, representing the ultimate contemporary fairy tale of rising from the absolute depths of poverty, institutionalization, and societal rejection to conquer the grandest stages in the world. They were an unconventional powerhouse, a duo that defied every single rule in the traditional industry handbook, proudly wearing their troubled histories like badges of honor and showing the world that true love could thrive in the most hostile environments. From sleeping in the back of a cramped touring van to walking the hallowed halls of the Grammy Awards, their journey was viewed by fans as a testament to the power of mutual support. A beautiful example of what happens when two fiercely independent souls decide to lock hands and fight against a world that had repeatedly counted them out. Their public image was defined by a fierce, unapologetic loyalty to one another and to the beautifully chaotic blended family they had built out of the remnants of their previous shattered lives. But the illusion of permanent stability was shattered completely this week when a sudden, devastating announcement rippled through the music community, leaving industry insiders and millions of devoted followers in a state of absolute disbelief. The news that a legal separation had been initiated did not merely signal the potential end of a high-profile marriage, it threatened to pull apart a delicate, intricately woven tapestry of parental responsibility, shared custody, and deep emotional bonds that had taken nearly a decade to carefully construct. As the initial details began to trickle out through legal channels and investigative reports, it became increasingly obvious that this was not a standard celebrity separation driven by superficial differences or the casual drifting apart of two busy professionals. Instead, the unfolding situation revealed a deeply layered emotional crisis centered around the welfare of the children who had found a safe haven within this unique union, particularly a teenage daughter whose entire universe had been shaped by the presence of a dedicated stepmother. It is a story that requires us to look far beyond the headlines, to examine the profound nature of maternal bonds that are forged not by blood, but by choice, sacrifice, and a shared survival instinct. If you want to stay informed as we untangle the deep complexities of this evolving situation and bring you the most comprehensive updates on this heartbreaking chapter in the music world, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel and join our community. The official documents filed in a Tennessee court last month revealed that Jason DeFord, known globally to millions of adoring fans by his stage name, Jelly Roll, had taken the painful and definitive step to legally terminate his marriage to Elisa DeFord, the widely celebrated podcaster and media personality known to the world as Bunnie XO, to a public that had watched the couple just months prior walking hand in hand at major industry events, looking as deeply in love and unified as they had ever been. The revelation felt like a sudden, unprompted betrayal of the narrative they had spent years building together. The couple, who had walked down the aisle in a spontaneous August 2016 ceremony, had survived obstacles that would have instantly destroyed a dozen lesser relationships, including intense battles with substance abuse, the constant threat of legal relapses, and the agonizing process of securing stability for a young daughter who had been rescued from a highly unstable environment. Yet, as the fine print of the divorce proceedings began to come to light, sources close to the family indicated that the primary focus of the negotiations was not the division of their newly acquired millions or the distribution of their vast estate, but rather the spiritual and emotional protection of 18-year-old Bailee Ann DeFord. The profound connection between the young woman and her stepmother had become the central anchor of the entire family dynamic, a bond so deep that it reportedly dictated the very timing of the separation itself, proving that even in the midst of a romantic collapse, the quiet duties of motherhood remained the absolute priority for a woman who had given everything to save a child that was not biologically her own. The true depth of this unfolding family crisis cannot be fully understood without examining the extraordinary turbulent history that brought these two individuals together in the first place, creating a bond that for years seemed completely indestructible. Long before he was a household name selling out massive arenas and receiving critical acclaim at the Grammy Awards, Jason DeFord was trapped in a seemingly endless cycle of incarceration, poverty, and severe drug addiction that threatened to cut his life tragically short. It was during one of his darkest moments, while sitting inside a cold Tennessee jail cell following a serious conviction for drug dealing in the year 2008, that he received the monumental news that would permanently alter the trajectory of his existence. He learned that he had become a father to a newborn baby girl named Bailee Ann, the result of a brief relationship with a woman named Felicia Beckwith, whom he had met at a mutual friend's party prior to his arrest. The realization that a tiny, innocent human being was now out there in the world depending on him sparked a profound spiritual awakening within the young man, instilling a desperate desire to completely reform his character, abandon the criminal lifestyle, and build a legitimate career in the music industry so that he could eventually become the present, reliable father his daughter truly deserved. However, the path to redemption is rarely smooth, and when he was finally released back into society, he faced a brutal, uphill battle against a system that had already written him off, leaving him to struggle on probation while sleeping in the back of a cramped, cold touring van as he tried to secure a foothold in the competitive rap and country music scene during those chaotic first few years of his daughter's life. The aspiring artist found himself largely locked out of her upbringing, a painful reality that he would later openly confront in his raw, emotional documentary where he described himself as a less-than-present father who was initially forced to navigate a hostile legal system just to catch a glimpse of his child. The situation grew increasingly desperate as Bailee's biological mother, Felicia, began a tragic, downward spiral into severe substance abuse, transitioning from a heavy reliance on prescription pills to manage severe physical pain into a full-blown, destructive heroin addiction that rendered her completely unable to provide a safe or stable environment for the growing girl. It was at this critical, life-altering juncture that Elisa DeFord, known to the world as Bunnie XO, stepped directly into the fire to alter the course of their lives forever. At the time, Bunnie was operating in a completely different universe, earning an extraordinary living as a high-class escort in the lavish, high-stakes nightlife of Las Vegas. Yet she possessed a remarkably generous soul and an intuitive maternal instinct that immediately recognized the profound desperation of the man she loved and the vulnerable child who desperately needed a savior. Without a single moment of hesitation, she chose to use her own considerable financial resources to rescue the fractured family, independently funding a comfortable condominium for them to live in and hiring the high-powered legal team necessary to initiate a complex, aggressive custody battle in the Tennessee courts. In the year 2016, thanks entirely to the relentless determination and financial sacrifice of a woman who had only recently entered their lives, primary custody was officially awarded to the father, allowing them to bring the young girl into a stable, structured home environment where she could finally begin to heal from the unvarnished trauma of her early childhood years. With the legal battle won, the former adult entertainer fully embraced her new reality, transforming herself into a fiercely protective mother figure who provided the unwavering emotional scaffolding that allowed her stepdaughter to thrive, creating an ironclad bond that the young woman would later describe as the single greatest blessing of her life. Over the next decade, as the musician's career miraculously exploded from underground obscurity into a massive multi-platinum global phenomenon, this unique household stood as a shining beacon of non-traditional family success, demonstrating that love and absolute devotion could completely triumph over the most sordid of pasts. Yet beneath the glittering surface of their newly acquired fame and fortune, the deep-seated trauma of the past continued to linger like a persistent shadow, occasionally erupting into highly public, bitter confrontations that highlighted the immense stress under which this blended family constantly operated. A poignant example of this underlying tension surfaced in a dramatic social media exchange, where the biological mother attempted to express her lingering affection for her distant daughter, only to be met with a blistering, public rebuke from the father, who had temporarily taken control of his wife's account to furiously expose the reality of dozens of unanswered messages and total parental neglect. Despite the immense bitterness of that initial clash, the family continued to put in immense, exhausting emotional work to foster a sense of healing, culminating in a beautiful, short-lived period of reconciliation when the biological mother achieved a period of sobriety, a milestone that was celebrated with massive family gatherings and an open-ended invitation to share her story of recovery with the world. Tragically, the fragile peace that the family had fought so desperately to maintain was completely shattered during a fateful summer trip that would plunge the impressionable teenager right back into the absolute worst of the addictive lifestyle she had been cued from. While spending the summer months with her biological mother under the assumption that the environment was safe, the 14-year-old girl was subjected to a horrific campaign of manipulation and active endangerment, wherein she was not only supplied with alcohol and prescription medications, but was actively coerced into consuming hard, illicit narcotics in a deserted commercial parking lot after a holiday celebration. For months, the young girl lived a double life of severe, unmitigated substance abuse, consistently self-medicating with dangerous combinations of alcohol, vaping, and highly addictive anti-anxiety medications completely outside the knowledge or sight of her worried parents in Nashville. When she finally returned to the safety of her father's home, the devastating physical and psychological changes were immediately apparent to both parents, who instantly mobilized every resource at their disposal to pull their teenage daughter back from the edge of the abyss, guiding her through the grueling process of sobriety and supporting her absolute decision to completely sever all contact with her birth mother. The brutal reality of that maternal betrayal was brought into even sharper relief just last year when the biological mother was arrested during a major police traffic stop involving the discovery of lethal amounts of methamphetamine and fentanyl, an incident that culminated just this week in a definitive court sentencing that guaranteed her return to a secure jail cell. The sheer weight of these recurring family horrors undoubtedly placed an unimaginable, crushing burden upon the marriage itself, as the constant state of hypervigilance required to protect their children slowly began to erode the romantic foundation between a husband and a wife who had spent their entire relationship fighting everyone else's battles instead of their own. The profound tragedy of a dissolving marriage becomes infinitely more complex when the primary bond holding the family together is not one of biology, but an unbreakable connection forged through shared survival and an unconditional love that defies conventional labels. As the news of the official divorce filing continued to reverberate through the entertainment industry, it became increasingly evident that the separation of this famous couple was marked by a rare, deeply moving level of emotional maturity and parental protectiveness that sets it far apart from the typical, bitter legal battles of the Hollywood elite. For nearly a decade, the stepmother had functioned as the absolute emotional anchor for a young woman who had been repeatedly let down by the very person who brought her into the world, step by step rebuilding her sense of self-worth, guiding her away from the edge of destruction and providing a stable, loving platform from which she could safely launch into adulthood. Insiders close to the situation have revealed that when the relationship between the husband and wife finally reached its natural breaking point, the decision to delay the formal legal filing was made out of a unified, sacred commitment to their daughter's future, ensuring that the young woman was completely allowed to focus on her high school graduation and secure her transition into college before her domestic universe was upended once again. This selfless dedication to preserving the teenager's hard-won stability underscores a beautiful, bittersweet truth that while a romantic partnership can fade and dissolve under the relentless pressure of fame and past trauma, The spiritual obligations of motherhood, once chosen, are entirely eternal. The young woman at the center of this storm broke her silence to address the public frenzy surrounding her family, delivering a remarkably grounded statement that perfectly demonstrated the profound, healthy impact of the upbringing she received within this blended home. Rather than engaging in the sensationalism or taking sides in a public forum, she expressed a deep sense of exhaustion regarding the intense media scrutiny while offering profound gratitude to the millions of fans who have showered her family with love, kindness, and unwavering support during this intensely painful period of transition. Her maturity in emphasizing that everyone involved is a human being, deserving of basic compassion and privacy, reflects the exact emotional intelligence that her stepmother worked so tirelessly to instill in her throughout their years together. The deep bond between the two remains entirely unaffected by the legal realities of the divorce, as evidenced by a long history of public declarations where the young woman has openly referred to her stepmother as her absolute best friend, her savior, and the most magnificent woman she has ever known, credit her entirely with changing her life for the better. This enduring connection serves as a powerful reminder that family is not defined by DNA, but by the hands that hold you when you are falling, the hearts that defend you from the shadows, and the adults who willingly sacrifice their own peace to guarantee yours. Beyond the immediate crisis involving the eldest daughter, the unraveling of this unique union also sheds light on the wider, highly complex network of relationships that have defined this modern blended family, demonstrating the immense effort required to raise children in the modern world. While the eldest daughter found her sanctuary with her stepmother, she also maintained a deeply supportive, lifelong friendship with a former partner of her biological mother, an individual who had helped raise her from early childhood and who has continued to celebrate every major life milestone by her side, from high school proms to crowded concert halls. When the news of the divorce broke, this long-term family ally immediately took to social media to demand total respect and absolute privacy for the couple, demonstrating the fierce code of loyalty that governs the entire inner circle of this unique Tennessee household. At the same time, the musician's younger son, a 9-year-old boy who has been intentionally kept far away from the blinding spotlight of celebrity culture, represents another facet of this intricately balanced family structure. Born from a separate, long-term relationship, the young boy's upbringing has been managed through a highly structured co-parenting agreement that respects strict maternal boundaries. Yet his stepmother consistently went out of her way to publicly praise his biological mother as an extraordinary stand-up woman, building a beautiful bridge of mutual respect that allowed the entire extended family to function as a unified village for the sake of the children. The ultimate tragedy of this separation is compounded by the painful revelation that the couple had been and actively working to expand their family, desperately chasing a shared dream of welcoming new life into the world, before their relationship completely succumbed to the weight of the past. The stepmother had been incredibly open with her millions of followers regarding her grueling, years-long battle with severe fertility issues, detailing the intense physical and emotional toll of undergoing extensive medical treatments after discovering structural blockages that prevented natural conception. Just months before the divorce was finalized, she had proudly revealed to the world that they had successfully located a devoted surrogate to carry their future twins, a long-awaited miracle that seemed to promise a beautiful, triumphant new chapter for a couple that had already survived so much adversity. Now, with the sudden collapse of the marriage and the initiation of legal divorce proceedings, those beautiful dreams of bringing new life into the world together have been indefinitely put on hold, leaving fans and loved ones to mourn the loss of what could have been a spectacular crowning achievement for their love story. Yet, as this chapter draws to a close, the legacy of their near decade together remains entirely intact through the lives of the children they successfully rescued, protected, and guided into the light of a brighter future. The story of this family is not one of ultimate failure, but a profound testament to the extraordinary lengths ordinary, flawed people will go to heal one another, showing a watching world that love is always worth the fight, even when the story doesn't end with a traditional happily ever after.